Hello, how's everybody doing today? So in today's video, I'm going to talk about COVID-19 and wearing a mask. It seems like every single post on Facebook, on social media, is talking about wearing masks. It seems there's people that are mad they have to wear them. There's people that are mad that other people aren't wearing them. There's politicians that are saying wear them. There's politicians that say you don't have to. There's people saying, well, this person said not to and this person didn't. A lot of conflicting information, and a lot of people are, upset. It's a controversial thing. So with that said, I know on my last video talking about COVID, I was like, I'm not making any more videos about COVID. There's a million videos on the internet, a million videos on YouTube talking about COVID. But I felt like I needed to make this video because I've seen a lot of people say a lot of things that are kind of, not based on the current science when it comes to wearing a mask. And it does seem like, unfortunately, everything has become political. Instead of looking at the science, people are looking at, well, I'm a Republican, so what do the Republicans say? Or I'm a Democrat, what do the Democrats say? Instead of looking at what do the facts say? What is the information? And that is very difficult, I understand, because you'll have a news headline, it'll take a study, let's say an observational study, and it may just be a poorly conducted study. It may be a study that was later retracted, a number of things, right? And oftentimes they'll just take a study and they'll make a headline and people will just look at that headline and think, oh, that's it, all I need is that one study and that one article and that one headline, and that's enough to make my mind up that I'm either going to wear a mask or not going to wear a mask. And I think, that's part of the problem is there's a lot of conflicting information, and I think people get upset. I see a lot of people post and say, well, I think it's all bogus because such and such scientific organization, the CDC said this in March, and now they're saying this. Well, the World Health Organization said this, and now they're saying this. I don't trust them. Well, let's rewind, let's pause for a minute, and remember that the scientific stances change based on the current data and the current information we have now. So, if in March, the current data that they had on COVID was to not wear a mask, and then you fast forward to July, and now the current information, the current data, and the current studies say you are to wear a mask, then they are going to change their stance. That is how science works. That's how good science works. And that's how it should work. That's not a flaw in science. That's actually a positive thing. You want things to change based on new information and new data. I may have said this in a previous video or used this analogy. It's kind of like if you have a neighbor, right? And they call the police and they say, hey, look, there's been a murder across the hall or across the street, right? And the police are going to come and they're going to be like, oh my God, they're rushing over. And then a couple of witnesses come up and say, yeah, I saw that murder as well, right? That guy did it. And you have three people and they point at the guy. And so the cops are like, well, we got to take him out of the public. We're going to go ahead and arrest him or detain him for now, right? Until we get more information. Sure enough, they go across the street. Somebody's been murdered, right? Three witnesses say this guy did it. Oh, so you would think, okay, that guy's going to jail, open and shut case. But fast forward a month later, they find a video of the actual killer, and the DNA evidence matches that killer, doesn't match the suspect that they arrested. Well, guess what? Now they're going to let that guy go, and they're going to arrest the other guy because there's new data and new information. And science works the same way. Again, a lot of people act like that's a bad thing when science changes. Well, then, if you're saying that's a bad thing, then the same scenario with the murder situation, you're saying it would be a bad thing if that original person who was arrested just stayed in jail forever based off of 3 witnesses. Because eyewitness testimony, that's a whole different video or whatever, but that can be unreliable. Anyway, I say all that to say it's a good thing that it changes, and it's based off of the current evidence. Speaking of the current evidence, there have been a lot of studies conducted. I know the World Health Organization, I'll post a lot of links down below. They did a meta-analysis of 172 studies. And I think the majority of those are observational studies. Now, while those aren't what you consider the gold standard or the best type of study, they're not randomized controlled studies or RCTs, but it's a lot of studies, right? So they did a meta-analysis, and meta-analysis just means they look at all these different studies, right? And they compile the data from all of those studies and see, were they consistent, and did they all come to the same conclusion, a different conclusion, or what? And based on those studies, they now have concluded that we should be wearing masks, and that we should be distancing, right? So right now, the current stance by the CDC and the World Health Organization and just about every scientific organization that I've seen is for people to wear masks. It gets a little bit tricky when you talk about cloth masks versus surgical masks versus N95. The recommendation is for healthcare workers to wear N95 masks, especially when taking care of patients who have COVID. And the reason you don't want the general public to wear N95s is if they're just buying up all these N95 masks, well, then the healthcare providers do not have them. As far as cloth masks, in the different studies that I've seen, they may not be as effective as a surgical mask, but they do help some. A lot of these different masks have been rated anywhere from, and this is the surgical and the cloth, I've seen anywhere from 30% more effective to 60, 70, 80% more effective, depending on which study. And you think, well, okay, that's a large range. But again, these are ongoing studies. These are ongoing things that they're still learning about. This isn't something you just do one study and you know everything. Unfortunately, it takes months, years to truly understand. So we have to go as the data comes out. So this will likely change again. It's not a bad thing, as I said. But what they do know is, or they're starting to see, is that cloth masks will actually help with the droplets that you expel when you cough or sneeze, even talking, right? So really, when you hear people say that people are wearing a mask for the other person's protection, so while it may not protect them, if both people are wearing a mask and you're decreasing, even if you're only decreasing about 30%, that's still significant. To decrease your exposure by 30% is significant. But wearing a cloth mask doesn't mean, hey, I would go stand side by side next to somebody in a line. You still want a distance, right? And the 6 feet is just the recommendation. That's the minimum recommendation. That doesn't mean that if you stand 6 feet and you have your cloth mask on, you're not going to get COVID. Again, it's just a recommendation. The further away you are from people and the more precautions you take, the safer you will be. But it always goes back to washing your hands, wearing the mask properly. A lot of what I think happens, unfortunately, is people aren't wearing them correctly. You'll have them, obviously, people, it's under their nose. So I don't think it defeats the purpose. You're breathing in, because that's one of the major ways that defining COVID is transmitted, is just breathing it in, more so than touching surfaces and things like that. Even though that can happen as well. There are people who are, you go out in public all day, you have your mask, go home, take your mask off, and then you eat food. You don't even wash your hands. Guess what? You could have COVID now. So anyway, I think that is an important takeaway is for people to wear a mask, and I really do. I think the numbers will significantly decrease if everybody is compliant. Everybody's like, well, the numbers haven't decreased. Well, because if you go outside, at least where I live, I see people everywhere. I saw people standing outside of a club, lined up around the club to go in. Nobody has on a mask. And I'm thinking, where's the social distancing? Where are the masks? But people don't care. I'll end on this. One great quote that I saw from Dr. Stephen Novella, who some of you may know. That's one of my favorite. He blogs and does a lot of videos and podcasts. He's a Yale neurologist. But he said, wear a mask, but act as if they do not work. Meaning, wear your mask, but just pretend it doesn't even work. And why would you want to do that? Well, what that does is it gives you the mentality of not this false sense of, oh, I've got my mask on, it's going to protect me against everything. But what it does is it says, hey, I'm going to wear my mask, but I'm still not going to get close to people. I'm still going to distance. I'm still going to wash my hands. I'm still going to take precautions. I'm only going to go out if I have to. I'm only going to go to places if I have to, or be around large crowds if I have to. That's what it's saying. It's saying wear the mask because, again, even if it increases your chances of, or I should say decreases your chances of getting COVID by a small percentage, that still, to me, is worth it, right? So anyway, with that said, I'll tell everybody, I would say wear a mask. When you go out in public, when you go out in a store, wear a mask. It's not hard, it's not difficult, it shouldn't be a political thing, it shouldn't, oh, that means you're a Democrat if you wear a mask and you're a Republican, we shouldn't get into all that. It should just be, what does the science say? Currently the science says, wear your mask. That is what the current scientific stance is. Anyway, y'all have a great day. Please like and subscribe. Post some comments down below. I know when I post a lot of these videos, I get a lot of comments, like my pandemic video, get a lot of comments, people mad and people happy. And so anyway, tell me what you think. Y'all have a great day.